Hi everyone, this is my video about what's wrong with And Just Like That, Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. I've actually got the Wikipedia open in front of me. I usually just review like geek stuff, and if I get the names of the actors wrong or the characters, nobody really cares. But when I start reviewing movies or shows like this, people who don't usually listen to my channel listen to it. They really get angry when I don't know Cynthia Nixon's character's name, which is Miranda. Of course I know it, but I kind of choke on it sometimes when I'm recording. And I saw all of season 1 of And Just Like That, and it was difficult. Weirdly enough, I was kind of shocked that it came out last year. It feels like that came out years ago. So the main issues with season 1 of And Just Like That is that the showrunner, Michael Patrick King, he's older. He is, I believe, in his, let me right click and open a new tab. He is in his, he's only 68. Oh, and he really doesn't have a excuse. I thought he was 78, because the problem with the season 1 is these characters are like mid-50s, but he was writing them like they were mid-70s. Like they were decrepit. Like they had no energy. They were lit wrong for their age for 4K. And it was just depressing and weird. And it seemed to be obsessed with humiliating the characters. It also introduced a lot of diverse characters who almost felt like Pokemon, something like that. Like, here's Miranda, and here's her diversity Pokemon. It was okay here and there, but overall it was just kind of weird and depressing. Now, it was originally billed as a miniseries, and when the season 1, quote, miniseries was over, everyone was just kind of like, okay, yeah, that was kind of a mistake. But then, like, it ended kind of on a high note, so people were like, well, maybe season 2. And it's a trick question, because this really isn't season 2 of And Just Like That. It's essentially a new season of Sex and the City. I don't know why they don't just call it that, but for some reason they don't. So only episodes 1 and 2 have come out, but it is a big improvement. So they're just basically continuing the storylines from season 1, except for they improved almost everything. Now, I would not say it's funnier. I think Sex and the City franchise has usually always been kind of a soap opera with a light humorous tone, not really a comedy. I wouldn't say it was really funny at all, but it was interesting, and they corrected a lot of things that were wrong with the first one. First of all, they kind of went back to fantasy, and even though all of these women are in their mid-50s, they're all just kind of fine. They're healthy, they have high libidos, everything's going great for them financially. By the way, I keep having to update how much Carrie is probably worth. I'm thinking she's in like 25 to 50 million. It's a lot. So she's still doing the podcast. And yeah, they are doing weird things because this was written by a man who is 68 going on 78. So they'll do things that I haven't seen happen since the 1990s, like give an email and not do it correctly, like not have the entire domain name, which really sticks out. But the main characters are not 75 years old anymore. They don't really act their age. They probably act more like 40-ish, but it's fine. It's a fantasy. It's supposed to be light and fun and entertaining. There hasn't been any downer stuff like the death of Big or the divorce of Miranda. It's just kind of light, fun, okay stuff. Probably the number one problem is these people are learning life lessons, and number one, they're 55, so they should know this stuff already. Number two, I'm pretty sure they've learned these lessons in either the TV show or one of the movies. So it's like, okay, so you're learning that not every relationship has to be emotional. I feel like you've learned that before, but it's fine. It's light entertainment. Che is still the worst comedian ever. Thankfully, they limit the amount of her stand-up that you see. She's getting a pilot, so they're kind of concentrating on that. Che and Miranda's relationship is still clearly a time bomb. And number 2, pretty depressing, but they made it less depressing. One of the weird things is that all of these people are divorced from any kind of financial burden. So they kind of live like in the Star Trek future where you just try to seek out a satisfying life. Carrie running a podcast still feels like it's not high stakes enough, although it looks like they might be wrapping up the podcast and she's going to do something else. Like I said, they introduced a lot of diversity companions for the main cast, and originally they were kind of awkwardly lined up like one for one. Like, this is Miranda's diverse friend, this is Charlotte's diverse friend. They kind of cut the cord on that. Like, none of these new diverse characters are really connected to who originally introduced them to the cast. As far as the storyline, oh, hey, this is my friend from college. They're just doing their own thing now. One of the good things about having a bunch of diverse characters is that none of them have to be a representation for their entire race. So you get to see interesting takes. At one point, I don't know the new characters' names, and you don't either, so don't freaking zing me on this. But at one point, one of the new characters' husband, he's trying to hail a taxi, and because he's black, nobody's picking him up. Now, number 1, this feels like kind of an older storyline. You don't really hear about this as much as you used to. Number 2, it's a very hackneyed storyline. It's like, oh, are we really going to do just a generic racism storyline? But no, they flip it. Because that guy's mother is visiting. She's like, hey, I saw you arguing with the cabbie. You're like a multi-millionaire, maybe a billionaire. Like, step it up. Like, you're embarrassing us. I was like, oh, I didn't see that storyline going that way. That's pretty interesting. So not much to say. It's just 2 episodes. But I would say it's across-the-board improvement. I was kind of shocked when they mentioned Stanford being in Japan, because I forgot that's how they wrote him out of the show. So at one point, Carrie's like, oh, I got this kimono from Stanford. And I'm like, oh, I thought he was dead in the show as well. Okay, I guess that's kind of nice, but also a little bit ghoulish. But anyway, it's good. I'm going to continue watching it. And it's one of those shows that comes out once a week instead of dumping the entire series online at once. I had to make a decision between The Bear Season 2 and this show, and I chose this show. So now I'm going to go watch The Bear. I'll probably have watched all of The Bear by the time the 3rd episode comes out in a few more days. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.